So my research, it's a combination of water governance and development, or international development perhaps. And so what water governance means is I study who gets to make the decisions to manage water in the way that we do. So for example, in a community, if there is scarcity, who is it that's allowed to dictate who gets water and what they can do with that water and what they have to do with that water when it's done? And so that's what I study on the water governance side. And then in the development realm, which I combine with water governance, I study how it is that people may better meet their goals. So for example, I work in Latin America. About half of what I do is in Latin America. And in communities that I work with community leaders, typically on water issues, to try to allow community members to better meet their goals. For example, if they're primarily agrarian, I try to figure out what barriers are that they face in the context of water and sometimes crop markets, and what solutions may exist to overcome those barriers and then allow them to lead more meaningful lives. Broadly, political economy and political ecology is how I view my work. And what that basically means is I try to really grapple with the nuance and complexity that exists in any one community as they try to meet their goals. So rather than relying on simple narratives and simple frameworks, I really try to dig in and unpack the complexity that exists and the power dynamics that exist in a community, because there are social hierarchies that exist throughout our world, and those social hierarchies are different from one place to the next, and they often dictate who gets water, they often dictate who's allowed to sell crops, who's not. And so that's the political approach, whether it be political economy or political ecology. My teaching actually mirrors my research quite closely. So I teach political ecology, governance, globalization, which basically is how is it that our world has developed the way that it has. And so in my globalization, we talk about different types of organizations that may allow communities to better govern and manage their water resources. How is it that an organization should be structured to best allow a community to meet their goals? We walk through that whole theoretical understanding in a water governance class that I teach, but we really rely on case studies, typically local case studies in New Mexico, in the Southwest, in the borderlands, to try to apply the theory that we've learned, to try to understand what that theory allows us to do, and oftentimes to critique the existing theory, relying on these local cases, and maybe, if we can, add to it. First and foremost, people really care about water in the Southwest. People really care about water in New Mexico. And then beyond that, New Mexico has a tradition of managing and governing water that's very unique in the United States. It's very collective action based, and it has been that way for hundreds of years. And this stands in stark contrast to some of our neighbors, through which they use very modern, they manage water in a very modern way. And right now we're feeling the tension a bit in New Mexico as we try to modernize these very traditional water management systems. And so it's a really exciting place to be if you're interested in water governance.